welcome back to Real Reviews. This is Cody Williams, and we're here to talk about the movie Insidious, The Red Door. It is the newest fifth installment to the Insidious movies, which has become one of my favorite horror movies from the past decade or so. The first couple movies are considered my favorite of the bunch. Then it started branching off into unexplored ideas with a couple more sequels which were fun, mind you, but they felt different and didn't quite spark my interest as much. Apparently, this new sequel returns back to the spiritually victimized Lambert family from the first two movies, so you can imagine how excited I am. Anyways, I just got done watching the movie and I'm ready to talk about it. The movie story follows 9 years after his spiritual possession. Josh Lambert's memories of his experience in the further have been repressed. Hoping for the best, Josh heads east to drop his son Dalton off at an idyllic Ivy League university. However, Dalton's college dream becomes a nightmare when the repressed demons of his past suddenly return to haunt them both. To end the haunting and to put the demons to rest once and for all, Josh and Dalton must return once again to the further in order to stop the Lambert nightmare for good. Okay. Now that's how you do a sequel. It's fantastically well crafted and overall a creepy fun time. This sequel beautifully wraps up all the loose ends developed from the first two films and concludes on an elaborate bookend. It is tough to say that I do have maybe a couple gripes with the movie, and of course I'll get to that later. For now, let's talk about the many great things the movie has going for it, whether it be the very effectively well-placed scares, the foreboding atmospheric cinematography, likable characters, and also just how great the writing was. First off, let me say that the very first Insidious movie still holds up to this day as one of the most scariest movies I've ever seen. I know that's a subjective statement, but let's be clear that movies are different for everybody. This new sequel, on the other hand, is still unnerving and chill-inducing in its own manner, but let's face it, that is nowhere as creepy as the first movie was. I'm not holding it against this new sequel, but I don't know. With the stingers and built-up tension leading up to the actual scares, let's say that the jump scares are pretty good. I will say that I was a bit skeptical with James Wan not returning to direct this time around. You know who did direct this new sequel? Patrick freaking Wilson. I didn't know that the actor had the chops to direct the movie, but his directorial debut of this movie is a fantastic start. Hell, I didn't even know he did music until I found out that he did backup vocals for the new track from Ghost that's used in the end credits for this movie. He's a great actor, director, and also a great singer. The man is a jack of all trades. With Patrick Wilson in front and behind the camera, the principal photography for all the scenes are very exquisite looking, which brings me to my next point, the film's cinematography. What stood out visually the most to me are the scenes that took place in the spiritual realm the further. With the lighting, the rolling fog on the floor, and how some of the shots are framed, this movie is just visually stunning. Alongside good old Patrick Wilson, everyone from the first movie all return in some form or fashion. Even the child actors from back then are all back, and they're all very well utilized, mind you. Ty Simpkins, who plays Dalton Lambert, has absolutely become one of my favorite young actors of his generation. He's been in several blockbuster movies such as the controversial Iron Man 3, Jurassic World, Oscar winner movie The Whale, and among many other projects. Let's just say that he's definitely a very talented young actor, and he is amazing with his performance, bouncing off of Patrick. I also just so happen to enjoy the performance of Sinclair Daniel, who happens to play Dalton's roommate. She was surprisingly a great welcoming addition to the movie as well. As for the writing, I have to say that I was thoroughly impressed with how this new sequel ties together seamlessly with the first couple movies, making it the perfect concluding chapter to this series. It provided answers to long-awaited, unanswered questions that I've been pondering for quite some time now. What I admire the most out of the writing would have to be the characterizations and development for the leads, as we get to better understand the human emotions behind this family that they had to undergo through. If there's one thing that this movie could have done without, it would definitely have to be the frat related humor. I get that the setting takes place on a college campus, but there is an overabundance of this type of comedy stick, and it's just too much. If it was just maybe a quick one and done thing, it would have been fine, but no. I don't know if I should be bothered by this or not, but I feel that the movie didn't have to go heavy on the exposition to re explain astral projection and also the spiritual realm the further again, when the first movie did that perfectly with some nuance. I don't know how else to describe it, but I feel like that part was dumbed down exclusively for general moviegoers that have forgotten or those who have just watched these movies just for the scares alone. For those that are wholly invested into the overarching story with a viable sense of intelligence, myself included, it's kind of insulting. Issues aside, I can easily say that I thoroughly enjoy this movie. Overall, Insidious The Red Door is an absolutely masterclass of a contemporary horror film that delivers a strong, hauntingly ethereal experience despite its shortcomings. 2023 has been a great year for horror movies so far, and this film strives to continue that track record. Even though this is not a perfectly well made movie, I will say it is pretty close to it, leaving some slight room for improvement. I give this movie an A minus. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to keep up with my real reviews.